What Representative Ratcliff just declared about Chuck and Obama will have them hiding under the covers, by US4Trump.com. On Sunday morning futures with Maria Bartiromo, Congressman John Ratcliff joined Fox News for an exclusive interview. Bartiromo and Ratcliff discussed President Trump's trip overseas, where he'll be meeting with Vladimir Putin on Monday in Helsinki, Finland. Democrats have become unglued and unhinged over President Trump's upcoming meeting with Putin that is taking place on Monday. They are so distraught, so much so, that Democrats are calling for the president to cancel the meeting because of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. Senator Chuck Schumer went on a tweet storm, throwing an absolute tantrum while pushing his obstructionist narrative and telling President Trump to cancel the Putin meeting now. This is not the first time Chuck Schumer has tried to give President Trump his advice. Hilariously, the White House had said time and time they will never take Chuck's advice, but he still gives it. Chuck Schumer, cancel the Putin meeting now. There you go. During the interview, Congressman John Ratcliff said, someone needs to remind Senator Schumer that the party in the minority doesn't get to set and make foreign policy decisions. He reminded the audience, as former President Obama used to often say often, elections have consequences. So Ratcliff went on to point out the obvious reason that Senate Democrats don't want President Trump to meet with Putin, for the simple reason they didn't want President Trump to sit down with Kim Jong-un. They are afraid he will succeed. Democrats are deathly afraid of President Trump kicking holes in all of the things they have been saying, that he's a puppet of Putin and the Kremlin. Democrats certainly don't want a comparison of how President Trump will handle Putin versus how Obama did. Ratcliff slammed Obama next, saying, remember President Obama's feckless foreign policy as it related to Putin was hiding under the covers while Russia took Crimea policy. It was a policy where he had his national security advisors tell our cyber officials to stand down rather than stand up when we found out the Russians were meddling with our elections. President Trump will be handling Putin much differently. Someone needs to remind Senator Chuck Schumer there that the party in the minority doesn't get to set and make foreign policy decisions. At Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo.
Welcome back, and I'm back now with Congressman John Ratcliff. We're talking about these new indictments from the Justice Department targeting 12 Russian intelligence officials. And now, Congressman, many on the left are demanding that President Trump not meet with Vladimir Putin tomorrow in Helsinki. Chuck Schumer putting out a tweet basically saying, cancel the Putin meeting now. Your reaction?
Well, the first thing, someone needs to remind Senator Schumer that the party in the minority doesn't get to set and make foreign policy decisions. As the former President Obama used to say often, elections have consequences. But even setting that aside, the real reason that Senator Schumer and other Democrats don't want Donald Trump to sit down with Vladimir Putin tomorrow is the same reason they didn't want Donald Trump to sit down with Kim Jong-un last month. They're afraid he'll succeed. With respect to North Korea, I think everyone has to concede that there is at least the real prospect of success there, of a denuclearized Korean peninsula that Republicans and Democrats had failed to achieve for the last 2.5 decades. So now I think the Democrats are deathly afraid of Donald Trump sitting down with Vladimir Putin and kicking holes in all of the things that they've been saying about him being a puppet of Putin and the Kremlin. And I certainly don't think they want a comparison between how Donald Trump is going to deal with Putin versus how President Obama did. Remember, President Obama's feckless foreign policy as it related to Putin was a hiding under the covers while Russia took Crimea policy. It was a policy where he had his national security advisor, Susan Rice, tell our cyber officials to stand down rather than stand up when we found out the Russians were meddling with our election. If you think that's how Donald Trump's going to approach Vladimir Putin, as we say here in East Texas, hide and watch. I think the president's going to have a very different message for Vladimir Putin tomorrow.
So what will his message be, and do you think Crimea is part of the conversation?
I very much expect Crimea to be part of the conversation, but I also expect part of the conversation to be President Trump relating to Vladimir Putin in maybe not so subtle terms, that we have the ability to cripple the Russian economy, to bring it to its knees, to sell natural gas to the Europeans for a lot less than the Russians are. And if you think that President Trump's last stop at NATO and the discussions there about a German pipeline to bring that natural gas from Russia was some sort of a coincidence, I think you'd be mistaken.
Yeah. Before we go, let me ask you, based on what you saw on Friday in that hearing with Peter Strzok, do you think we will see accountability? Characterize what you saw in that room on Friday. How was he?
Well, again, I didn't find him to be a credible or believable witness, and he is the star witness in Bob Mueller's investigation if he ever brings Russian collusion charges. And again, already there are serious conflicts between his testimony and that of Lisa Page. So, from the accountability standpoint, I think the most important thing for many of us is we don't see any evidence of Russian collusion, yet this investigation by the special counsel, what he's supposed to be doing is proceeding. And there doesn't seem to be any evidence from that, and these recent indictments don't have anything to do with that. So to quote my good friend Trey Gowdy, it does seem like special counsel needs to finish the hell up.
Yeah. Well, there are reports that he's considering that. We'll be watching that. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Maria.
It's true, basically. Whatever he said, it is true. Finish it up. Trump is succeeding, and the Democrats don't like it, and elections have consequences. We learned that the hard way with Obama. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and again, thank you so much for watching.